Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Patterson.
And I'm Jared Anderson.
And this is Cowboy Koffee. Jared, what's Cowboy Koffee?
What is Cowboy Koffee, Joe? I just asked you that. So, is Cowboy Koffee, are you talking about the beverage?
Yeah, let's start with the beverage.
That's a good place to start. Cowboy Koffee. If you ask your brother Elijah what Cowboy Koffee is, or maybe my brother, he would probably turn his thumb down at Cowboy Koffee. He's a coffee aficionado. Right?
I've had your Cowboy Coffee, though. You make a mean Cowboy Coffee.
Yeah, I think your first thought on Cowboy Koffee is something that you pulled off the campfire. It's a little rough. It's got some grounds on the bottom, probably some dirt from somewhere, the campfire, some ash fell in. That's like the most crude Cowboy Koffee, right? A step above that is like a definite method of making coffee over the campfire, right? It's going to be smooth, easygoing, probably just easy to drink straight black, in my opinion.
Easier, for sure.
Yeah, and the reason is because, of course, you put the grounds in a tin or in a canteen. You boil it, and you let it boil, and it's supposed to make it less acidic. I guess if you're a good Swede, you put an egg in there to settle the grounds, but I never liked that.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, that's if you look in the church cookbook, that's what they do. They put an egg in there.
Like a whole raw egg?
Yeah, put an egg in there and it sinks the grounds. I always just dump a little bit of cold water in the top when you're done. Kind of settles the grounds, and then you pour it off. You're supposed to use a little bit more coarse grounds so you don't get the fines in there. So that's the benefit, I guess, is just making a cleaner cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm. So what's Cowboy Koffee, the podcast?
Cowboy Koffee, the podcast. Well, we're trying to figure that out, to be honest with you, but
we're in the process.
We've had this dream. Jared's dream for Cowboy Koffee was just to have good conversation around the campfire about various subjects. Of course, I love ranching and agriculture and farming and cowboys, and I'm a cowboy at heart, even though I don't wear a cowboy hat necessarily. But just to have good conversation about good, wholesome ideas and just with good, wholesome people.
I think it's interesting, too, that you talk about having conversations around the campfire.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're in my kitchen right now, so there's not a literal campfire. But I like the idea of the campfire as sort of a metaphorical place representing the idea of slowing down and catching up with people. Because I think, at least for me, when you're sitting around a campfire with someone, typically you're out camping.
Right.
And that means you're away from your regular routines, you're away from regular distractions. A lot of times, at least at the best campsites, you don't have cell service. And so it's just an opportunity to sit down and...
a good spot for conversation, isn't it?
catch up with people and talk
Let
about
your mind
things
wander a little bit.
Yeah, talk about things you might not normally talk about.
I'm a Swede, too, and we're always talking about fika break, right? So yeah. Fika doesn't necessarily mean you're going to stop and drink coffee, but you're going to take some time, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or longer, however that might be. I just had this conversation with my son the other day. It starts at 9:30. It could go to 9:35, or it could drag on to 11:45, just as long as it's done before lunch. But it could include coffee, or it could include a Coke. Usually you got a Twinkie or something, but...
your fika broad. I remember that one.
Your fika broad. If you're in a healthy mode, like I'm trying to be off and on, I try not to eat my Twinkies. I like a good cookie, though, with my coffee. Anyway, I got sidetracked there.
It's easy to get Jared sidetracked talking about fika rest.
Yeah, but that's Cowboy Koffee, yeah.
Yeah, and we're just kind of getting this thing going. Actually, Jared showed up at my house today not knowing we were going to be doing this, at least to this extent.
Here we go.
We're going to test out the equipment that we got for this. But I thought this was a unique opportunity to talk about something because Jared and I are both in kind of a unique position where we're leaving roles that we've been in for a long time. In my case,
right.
I'm stepping down as the youth pastor of the church where I've been serving for over 14 years now to move into a different career.
Yeah.
And you're stepping down from a coaching position that you've been in for how many years?
I don't know if it's been 14, but I think it's been Around 13 years, yes.
So
yeah.
similar periods of time and kind of similar positions in that I've been a youth pastor and you've been a coach. So our lives have, in that sense, revolved around working with
Youth.
young people.
Right.
And so I thought it would be really just a cool opportunity to talk to each other about the experience of leaving a position like that and
Yes.
sort of reflect on that time, reflect on the transition itself, and sort of look ahead to what's next. And I think part of this is we're processing together what's happening to us, what we're going through in real time. But I thought this conversation could be of interest and benefit to other people too.
I think it could be. We could probably make this a 3-hour podcast.
Probably could.
I already told Joe he's probably going to make me cry if I. It's an emotional day. I think for both of us, we've invested so much time and energy into our kids, and they're all like family to us. And like Joe said, we're just processing, and I think we will be processing for a year over this. Like, God, where are you taking me? Where have we been? Gosh, I'm already just trying to figure out where to go with this. Like, I've had some big changes in my life this year, Joe, with a couple boys getting married and my family kind of being done in the house. Tremendous amount of processing. Mm-hmm. And it's good sometimes just to be quiet and not rush through those things. Just rest and let God speak to you. And that's what I've been trying to focus on for, honestly, the past year. And this step of stepping down as a high school coach is another step. And I just feel like I need to be quiet and listen to God and listen to my heart. Just let God work on my heart a little bit. And I think slowing down and just not rushing into the next thing allows us to soak in the memories and remember God's goodness and his blessings and all the good things that he's done for us. So that's the biggest thing that I've been trying to incorporate in the last year, is just slow down and just let it soak in and listen to God.
On that note, I don't know if this has been true for your experience. It's certainly been true for mine. That the closer I get, because you just submitted your letter of resignation.
I kind of knew it was coming for a while, but just did, yes.
And I have, at this point, about a week and a half left in my position. My final night with my students will actually be Sunday night, 2 nights from now.
Okay.
That's my last youth activity as youth pastor. And so I don't know if it's been true for your experience, but the closer I've gotten to that finish line, the faster time has seemed to go by.
Yeah.
And the harder it is, in a sense, or maybe just the more intentional I have to be about slowing down, like, because I could get caught up in the busyness. I could get caught up in just what feels like this rush to the end.
Right.
And it's harder to stop and reflect. I have to really sort of intentionally try to create that space to slow down, to process what's happening as it's happening, and to sit in those moments.
It takes a lot of intentionality to do that.
So as we reflect on our experiences, I've got some questions here for us to talk through.
These I haven't prepped for. I don't have any questions. That's not fair. You've got all the questions.
We're both going to answer.
Okay.
We're both going to answer the same questions.
All right.
At your best in that role, what do you hope people experienced from you?
My coaching style was not a rah-rah. It was a little bit like build people up, but it wasn't a lot of yelling. Yelling in a good way, maybe. I was hoping to lift people up, hope to bring like a calming effect. So when you're in track, and especially lining up for a race, it's a big challenge internally, right? You've got to be prepared to bring your best at that given moment. And there's a lot of emotions that go with that. And you can get tied up inside, lots of butterflies, muscle tightness, just things that I'm not good enough, questioning if I'm ready for this. So what I hope to bring to kids in those positions was like, hey, you are ready for this. You know, God's prepared you for this. I've helped prepare you for this. It's just a race against yourself. And, you know, we have other competitors beside us to help us be our best, but ultimately it's against ourselves. They help raise the bar. I had hoped, I guess, just to bring a sense of calmness where kids could relax and reflect and be themselves, trust in God that, hey, God's made me just like this and he's prepared me for today. Yes, I might not win the race. I might actually lose the race, but he's preparing me for this, and he has prepared me. And this is only a race out on some dirt, in our case, dirt. But hopefully those moments as these kids reflect back on that in 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, they can grab a little bit of that and apply it to their situation in 10, 20 years. Because they're all going to go through a lot tougher things than a race. I mean, looking back, those are going to be fun times for them, even though their gut was tied up in knots. It's going to be a fun memory.
Yeah.
So that's what I had hoped to bring to them, something they could carry forward.
I think that's a really interesting and valuable coaching perspective too. You mentioned viewing competitors not really as competitors, but as people to spur you on and help you raise your own bar. And I think it shifts the focus from I need to beat these other people to I need to do my best and be better than the last time I ran this race.
Right. I always think about that when, we see people praying, teams praying together. What do they pray for? They pray that one's going to win? Like, what if they're both praying to the same God, and who does God choose?
Yeah, what does that mean for us if we lose?
Yeah.
That God loves the other team more or the other competitor more?
If that's how you're praying, then you're not praying right.
Yeah.
I mean, God has created you, he's created me, and he's created iron sharpens iron, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's created us to spur each other on. And that's what good races are. One of us may win one time or all the time. Yeah. One of us may win the next time.
It's not mutually exclusive to hope that everybody runs their best race and that I win, that I run to win. Like, right. I want to compete against people who are doing their best, and I don't want other people to feel like they failed or let themselves down, or, I want them to feel good about the race that they ran, just like I want to feel good about the race I ran, no matter what the result is.
God calls us to run our own race, run the race that he has given to us to run. And all of our races, just like I said, 20 years down the road, we're all going to be in different races. How did we run the race when we were a sophomore in high school? Mm-hmm. Hopefully we can take some of that. What was the question? I got sidetracked.
The question was, at your best in that role, what do you hope people experienced from you?
Joe, as a youth group leader on a given Wednesday night, what were you trying to bring to these kids that they could take home? What was your goal?
It's really simple. I think what I hoped that at my best, what people experienced from me was the love of Jesus.
Yeah.
That I was a vessel for the love of Jesus in their life. I heard somebody use the phrase once referring to somebody else as being Jesus in their path, as in they were sort of the human embodiment of these characteristics of Jesus. At my best, I hope when students came to my youth group, they felt loved, they felt accepted, they felt called to something bigger than themselves. And of course, I'm referring to a specific calling in that, the calling of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Really, that's what it comes down to. That's the most important thing, is I hope students felt the love of Jesus when they came to my youth group.
Yeah, that's a great prayer.
So when it comes to leaving, what was harder, deciding to leave or actually telling people that you were leaving?
Oh, well, here you're going to try to make me cry today. It's all still pretty fresh. I've thought about and prayed about this, Joe, for months. I mean, the end of our season ended 5 or 6 months ago, and it's been on my mind. Probably actually telling people, that's just what's coming to me immediately. I've been thinking about it for a long time. My hope, where I was, of course, I'd been there 13 years or so, was to have someone that could carry that on. You know that building your youth group program or your ministry, it's not yours, it's God's, but being used. You hope that will continue on. Yeah. Because you know how many countless hours you put into it. For me, I was kind of stuck a little bit like, who's going to carry this on? What's that going to look like? I had to, I guess, step back a little bit. I think what God was talking to me a lot about was like, hey, Jared, yes, I've used you. Yes, you've done a great job. But this isn't about you. I've got this. Just in the last month, I've had to kind of wrestle with that a little bit, like just giving it over to God, giving the control over to God. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know who's going to step in. Trust God that there will be someone, but God's good, and he's got good things in mind for the kids and the program. And I think just personally, it wasn't just about this. It was about other things in my life as well. Like, hey, quit trying to be a control freak here. One of my buddies, we were texting back and forth and just asking about what we needed prayer for that week. And he came at me with just that. Like, hey, Jared, I keep having these dreams where I'm building this car or restoring it, and God's helping me, and I get in the middle of it and I take over, and God says, just get your hands off of it. Let me help you. Let me fix it for you. And I think we all tend to do that. Like, it's type A personality. We want to be in charge. We want to make sure everything goes this way and this way. We want to be in control of it. I want to be in control of where it goes from here. But ultimately, that's not me. Or that's not my job. It's God's job. So all that I had to wrestle with, I'm trying to give your answer in a long roundabout way here. All that I had to wrestle with. So that was all internally. Mm-hmm. A lot of different things that God was working on me. Once I decided that, yes, I'll listen to God and listen to where he wants me to go, then I had to tell people. And that was tough. Whew. That was really hard. And I'm still dealing with that. And I was just telling you on the way up here, I don't even have anybody in front of me. I'm talking to Siri on my phone, texting a former coach. And I can't even talk to Siri because I'm crying. Like, what is this? It's ridiculous. I think that just goes to show, like, and I know you're in the same boat, of how much you pour into there and where your heart is. So how about you?
It was definitely harder telling people.
Okay.
Like you, I wrestled with the decision for a long time. In my case, it started years before I told anyone.
I know you had been talking about this for, to me at least, for a couple of years.
Yeah, because it involved going back to school and getting my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, which is what I'm going into. And I actually just finished that process last week.
Congrats
last Friday.
on that.
Thank you.
I mean, anything you do when you're older is tough. You got a full-time job, you're doing this and that.
You're not lying about that.
Yeah.
The decision was a long time coming, and I wrestled with it. And there were several months of wrestling with it internally before I really started having conversations with anyone about it. Yes, that was hard, but I think it was nowhere close to the difficulty of telling people, sharing with people when it was time.
I think it just brings reality to it.
Yeah, hearing the words come out of your mouth, I'm leaving.
I'm trying
done.
to type up my resignation letter, and I can't. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most difficult for me was telling my students when we told my students.
I know that's the most difficult part for me. I think you have a sense of you don't want to let them down. Right?
No.
You're plugged into their life, and you just want the best for them. It doesn't matter how old we get. There's going to be some point where we can't be everything to everybody. And that's the part where I was talking about earlier, is this, like, you have to turn it over to God. It's like your own kids. They're not my kids, God. You've got them. You've helped me get it, whatever we're doing to this point. Mm-hmm. But yes, definitely. Talking to the kids is tough.
I've said it to the point where it's starting to feel like a cliche, but it's true. Mm-hmm. I've told my students, I've told parents, I've told a lot of people, there's never a good time to leave youth ministry. And there isn't, because you always have students who are in the middle of their journey through high school, through youth group.
Exactly.
You always have students who are coming up, who've been excited to join the program with you at the helm and have been looking forward to you and your team specifically, who aren't going to get that. That's something I struggled with a lot. And that's something that it's not because it's bad and it's not because it's wrong, but it is going to be heavy and it is going to be sad. Because it mattered, because
it did matter.
It was a good thing, because the work you did mattered. And so it's bittersweet, but that's definitely something that I've had to sit with.
I used that words a few times today, bittersweet.
So many times for me. As we think about making that decision and what we both wrestled with internally, what part of you resisted the decision the longest?
Probably comes down to a little bit of pride. Maybe that's it. Maybe not the most, but there was always that issue in there a little bit, like, it's not going to be the same. You don't want to build yourself up much, but it's just hard. Like what I said before about giving God control. It's just like, how is this actually going to function? I know it can, and somebody else is going to make it good in their own way,
But you got to walk that fine line between control and quality control.
Exactly.
Because you're worried about, is the next person going to have my standards? Are they going to
Exactly.
Are they going to keep it running like I've worked to have it running?
Yeah, and you got to be careful there. You don't want to get too egotistical or proud about it. But at the same time, you know, you do feel like, I mean, I've plugged in countless hours in this, and darn it, this is the only way to do it. You know? How about you?
That's a struggle, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, honestly, the part of me that wrestled with the decision the longest and resisted the longest probably was fear.
Okay.
Fear of leaving something that I had done.
You're comfortable with it.
Yeah, for so long. I've told people I don't even have to think. You know, of course I work, and of course I put in the time to study and prepare to teach and all those things. But there is a side of me that doesn't even have to think about what I do because I'm so used to it. The flow of the, you know, weekly ministry and youth groups, it's very comfortable. It's like your old favorite pair of jeans or something like that.
I don't think it's anything different with youth ministry or coaching or whatever we're doing. This was my devotional this week. I listened to another podcast. God is a disruptive God. We got to be ready for that. It's so easy to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And that was my thought this week. Is like, I don't want to be comfortable. I want to be moldable and pliable and ready to move. And it gets harder the older you get.
Yes, it does.
I just don't want to get up, God. I'm comfortable in this chair here. And
I have this metaphorical lazy boy that I like a lot. That I've worn my spot in the cushions. And
isn't it like the Israelites? Like they left Egypt, but they're complaining to God. Like, can't we just go back to Egypt? At least I know what they're going to tell me.
Onions and melons back there.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You say, "Well, I'm never going to be like that."
Yeah.
And then you get in these situations, and I'm just exactly the same.
So I think part of it was the fear of moving out of what was comfortable, and also the fear of uncertainty outside of that. What if I'm not as good at what I'm doing next? You know, what if where I go, whoever I'm working with, whatever team, whatever people, what if I don't mesh with them as well as
I've thought that same thing.
Yeah, so those kinds of fears and uncertainties too.
You kind of have this, you were successful at what you're doing. I was successful. And we do have that fear like, well, I can go get a job. I've got qualifications. But then you get there and like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. Like,
I think that's where almost a little bit of imposter syndrome can creep in. Like, what if this, which was good, that I was good at, that I felt good at, what if that was just a fluke?
Right.
And I go to a similar position and it proves me to be a fraud?
I've thought of that as well. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's amazing that you and I have had that same thing with two totally different situations. Yeah.
I mean, I struggled with that all the way through my master's program. And it was a little bit unique for me because I'd never been to a state school before, certainly never done a master's degree before, and I had imposter syndrome really bad.
That you weren't going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Even though I was making good grades, I never started a class. Not my first semester, not my last semester, or any in between. I never started a class without feeling like this is going to be the one that proves that I shouldn't really be here, that I don't know what I'm doing. Every
How
single
did you get
class.
through that? Like,
I think I'm not going to say I have a great system for it because it wasn't fun and I struggled with it. I think I just would try to get routines and I would try to really sort of anchor myself in those. Like, okay.
Did you have a verse or something that you could refer to? Like, God, you've told me this, I got to believe in it, or more like a routine? Or
I think in this case, it was more like the routines and sort of not so much attached to any specific verse, but just the belief that God called me here. He's going to continue. I didn't decide that I belonged here. God decided that I belonged here. And as long as I do my part, as long as I'm a good steward of this opportunity He's granted me, He's going to continue to pave the way. So
That's
then I
good.
would just trust the routines and say, okay, I'm not going to think about the finals. I would always kind of tend to do that and then have to talk myself down when I'm looking at the syllabus of a
sounds
class.
like me trying to train a kid to run the 400.
Right.
Don't think about the finals. Don't think about 2 weeks from now.
Exactly.
Just think about this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to break it down into smaller chunks. And when I was looking at the syllabus for a new class, I would be looking at the final assignment and the major ones in between, when what I really
that's
needed to do
overwhelming.
was just focus on what's week 1 tasks. I can do those and I can actually do those more quickly and with less fuss than I thought. So it was just perspective and refocusing.
Wow.
But when you think about your impact, what matters more to you now than it did when you were in it?
That's a great question. I think as a coach, I think about my kids that I've coached who are 10 years gone from school or even more. I was going through some of my lists today, like, wow, I coached them. They're old, you know? I think what matters there is just that as I look back on my high school career, I have certain things I think about my coach and what that taught me, and maybe things that weren't taught to me the greatest or showed to me the greatest. And I think about ways that I can show my kids that I'm coaching in a better way. You mentioned love a little bit earlier, a bit ago, and when a kid's thinking back about their track season, I hope they don't think about running the 400. They just think about how we approached practice or a track meet in ways that were honoring God and being confident of ourselves and the way God made us.
Because those principles are things they're going to be able to carry forward from track into the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I don't know if I summed that up very well, but
I think so.
Yeah. How about you?
You know, I think it's interesting the parallels that keep continuing. I think in my case, what I would think of as like the fundamentals, you know, the building blocks. So what matters most to me now is that I instilled the fundamentals in my students. And when I say fundamentals,
Yeah, what do you mean by fundamentals?
I mean things like biblical literacy.
Okay.
That was a big one that was a part of my program, biblical literacy and basic doctrines. So they would know how to read and understand Scripture for themselves, know how to interpret Scripture for themselves, and be able to apply those things and be able to navigate the next steps, college, the world, with that solid foundation.
That's great. I'm thinking along fundamentals like the same. I wanted to just instill in my kids the love of competition, the love of, I say track, but maybe the love of running or just the love of exercise to continue that on in their life. And I've got kids now that I see that have been out several years who I thought would never run one circle around a track who are now running half marathons.
That's awesome.
I'm like, how did that even happen? And I think it's just inspiration.
They learn to love it.
They learn to love it. Yep. And they learned just how fun it can be just to love it for the sake of loving it.
I think that's so important too.
You don't have to be the best at it.
I think that speaks to quality of coaching and the quality of a coach who instills love for the sport or love for the game. I did not have a good coaching experience when I played golf in high school. And as a result, when I
That's not why you hate golf, Joe.
when I finished, I don't hate it anymore.
Oh.
But when I finished and stepped off the course for the last time in my high school career, I didn't step back on for about 10 years. Didn't touch another club for about 10 years because I just didn't love the game at all.
Separated yourself from it for a little while.
Yeah, I'd lost any passion, and it took me a long time to be able to do it again and do it just for fun.
Well, that is a sign of a good coach, a good mentor, is that they've instilled the love of, basically just the love of life. Just enjoy where you're at. Yep. Learn how to love life and how God's created you.
So,
You know a perfect golf game is, right? What is the score of a perfect golf game?
scratch, right?
Tell me what that is.
This is going to be bad. I'm going to cut this part of the conversation because I'm
it's
pretty
good.
sure
It's good. This is me
that's
coaching.
not right.
I was just thinking about this today. A perfect score in golf would be 18.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be perfect. So learning how to love the game you're in,
Yeah.
you're not going to be perfect. So
Yeah. Learning to love the process rather than the result.
Yeah.
The next question is, what's one story that captures why the work was worth it?
oh boy.
Doesn't have to be the best, just a story.
One story, man, caught me off guard here, of why the work was worth it. I mean, one I just brought up, like, I'm thinking about my shot putter who just finished a half marathon. I think that's just amazing. Like, that just tells me that they loved the program, and maybe they didn't love it the most when they were in it, but they loved it later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a short story. You probably have some great stories on this because, and one you shared earlier that you're not going to share now, which was really cool. And but being a youth group leader, I mean, there's some life-changing stories there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, just any time I have students, former students, come back and interact with me in any way. For example, I had one of my very first students. When I first started out, I had 3 baked-in students. who were coming to youth group. So we started small.
Okay.
One of those first 3 original students, when I announced that I was going to be stepping down on Facebook, when it went public, he texted me within minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And we still have a text thread.
And how far out is he? One of the very first was like 14 years ago.
Yeah, 14 years ago.
He's probably got a family by now.
He does. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Married, has a family, and just out there in the world living life and being successful.
He still thinks of you
Yeah.
just like that.
Yeah, we still have the same inside jokes and stuff like that. So just being able to be a part of somebody's life in that way for that long, that's one of the things that keeps you going on the days when you wonder if you're having an impact or whatnot.
A youth group leader is a special person, and you know who my youth group leader was.
Remind
Mr.
me.
Brian Kroger.
Yep, I thought that was the case, yeah.
So you talk about impact. Like, I'm still, 55 years old here, starting a podcast called Cowboy Koffee, and he was the first guy on our Cowboy Koffee. Still impacting lives, and a whole nother subject here, but we just finished setting up the Be Like Brian Fund this week. He's still impacting people 3 years after his passing, so you're going to be impactful in your life, Joe.
Yeah.
You're going to continue, and I will as well. And sometimes we don't see those things.
Yeah.
We just pray that, our kids, somehow we've been impactful to them and that we can be meaningful to them, even if they don't reach out to us in 20 or 30 years.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
you know who my youth leader was?
I don't.
It was your brother.
I wondered if it was. Yeah.
And to me, that's just such a cool example
That's
of
pretty
how
neat.
discipleship works. He discipled me, and then I went on to disciple
Isn't that
however many
amazing?
students I've discipled over the years in that role, and how many more people are they going to go on to disciple.
Right.
I just think that that's so cool to look back and think about.
Well, it's important to be in tune with where God wants us, because he's going to use us now and continue to use us.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as we reflect on transition and leaving these roles that we've been in for a long time, I think this could be a really useful question just for us to contemplate further, but for other people to think about too.
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference between perseverance and staying too long?
I've wrestled with that. My prayer always is that I would go where God commands me to go, right? And sometimes that's very difficult to know. My kids have asked me this, my own kids. Dad, how do I know if God's talking to me here or there? And I think my answer to them a couple weeks ago when we were chatting about this is, if you want to get to know somebody, you got to spend time with them. And
I just said that at youth group on a Wednesday night.
You did?
Yep, as an answer to a question.
getting to know someone, whether it's your spouse or your best friend or whatever. I mean, you've heard people say, like, I know you like the back of my hand. We say each other's words. So when you're spending time with God, you get to know God and you learn his voice in your own life. And he speaks to all of us just a little bit differently. It's usually fairly quiet, but we learn to hear him. So I think that's the very first step, is just spending time with God and learning to hear his voice and knowing how he speaks to you. And
Absolutely.
you know, he's going to speak to all of us in a little different ways. Yes, he might put a letter in your mailbox, but I doubt it. Just knowing when he's talking, knowing how to listen to him is the first step to saying, am I doing this on my own? Am I persevering? So I guess I'm just going to wrap that up. Like, that's, you got to know what God's talking to you. If that's indeed how you approach your questions in life.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not a Christian, you don't approach your life that way. That might be different.
Yeah.
That could be a whole different answer. But I'm coming from it from that perspective anyway. I've had to wrestle with that. Should I stay another year or two? Should I continue? My situation was a little bit different. You know, we had some moving involved in that, so that was another question. But I should probably give you a longer answer. But go ahead. Do you have a
No, I think that was great.
quick blurb on that?
I think I would absolutely agree. It's the calling of God, especially in ministry as a pastor. That's one thing that you never want to move to something or from something without. So that kind of is the primary perspective that I come at it from.
Yeah. I don't think God can't continue to use you if you persevere. I think he could.
Yeah. And I think the sort of the nature of the question is, like, how do you tell the difference between, is this hardship that I should persevere through, or is this an indication that I should be moving on? And as I think about it, I don't think this is an exhaustive answer by any means.
Right. A lot more goes into this.
I think one of the things that I would reflect on is what's my impact? What's the outcome of me staying? Is me staying benefiting? Is my work still good? Mm-hmm. Am I just saying because it's comfortable or because I don't want to move on for whatever my reasons are, when actually somebody else could be doing it better or doing it differently?
We all get to thinking we're irreplaceable, but we're really not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
so I think that's one of the measures I would potentially use to evaluate is just, am I accomplishing what I need to be accomplishing? Regardless of my intent, what's my impacts?
that's good. It's like you said, a non-exhaustive answer. There's
Yeah.
probably a lot of different angles to look at that.
We could fill a whole episode, a whole discussion on that topic.
Yep. These are very good questions.
I've been looking forward to hearing your answer to this question. We talked a little bit about this before we started.
All right.
What's a passage of scripture that's been
sure.
meaningful to you as you've navigated your transition?
I'm just going to talk about this week in general. Like this week in general, I've been spending time in Psalms. I've got several different Psalms that I've been working on. They're all kind of tied together. This particular one, Psalms 25, 1, in you, Lord, my God, I put my trust. I trust in you. Do not let me be put to shame, nor let my enemies triumph over me. No one who hopes in you will ever be put to shame. Trusting in God, like we talked about, listening to God. And then once he's told you or given you some indication on your heart what you should do, the next step is you just got to trust him and move forward. A lot of verses in Psalms have kind of been encompassing that theme for me this last week or two. So just trust, have faith. I've got it, Jared. I'm in control here. Let go of the wheel.
Yeah, it's sort of, I was going to say, it's sort of that active trust. It's not trust in theory.
Isn't that different? Yeah. Not trust in God, but like, hey, I'm driving here.
Yeah, there are actual major things happening.
Yes.
Big changes, and trust moves from a theoretical concept to something you have to figure out how to move in every day.
Yeah. Your verse.
For me, it's been...
Or a group of verses.
My dad calls these his life verses.
Okay.
And I've been reflecting on them.
Your dad, by the way, was a great pastor. For those that don't know him.
Yeah, yes, he is.
Yeah.
Great teacher. And so that's one reason these verses have always been special to me. And I think it's kind of cool that they've just floated back to the forefront of my mind while navigating this period of transition.
Yeah.
So it's Proverbs 3, 5 through 7, which says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil.
We didn't choose these verses in together. Joe sat aside and quiet and picked his verse. I picked mine.
Yeah.
They're both around trusting in God, right?
And my dad would always say, because most people, when they quote those verses, only quote 5 and 6.
Okay. Read those again.
So verses 5 and 6 are, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths.
Okay.
Verse 7 is, be not wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord, and turn away from evil. My dad would always insist that verse 7 should be included when people quote that passage of scripture, because he said verse 7 is the key to the whole thing. Rejecting worldly wisdom or being wise in your own eyes.
Right. Having
real fear of the Lord and repentance, turning away from evil. He said that's the key to the whole thing. So verse 7 should always be included.
I just told one of my good friends that today. Like, my prayer is just that my thoughts wouldn't get in the way of what God wanted me to do. Listen to another podcast here the last couple weeks. It relates around being wise in your own eyes is don't let a man-made opportunity get in the way of God-given direction.
Ooh, I like that.
I've had to wrestle with that quite a bit. I'm like, oh, this is a great opportunity. Oh, but we could do this, or we could go on and do this. No, but Jared, I'm telling you to go here.
Yeah.
So,
and the reality is you probably could do those things, and those things wouldn't be bad.
Right.
But actually, another quote that I got from a collection of my dad's is that oftentimes the good things in life are the enemies of the best.
That's true. This is it goes along with we should back up here. You got to play the noise, Joe. This is for our dad advice column here.
What noise?
I don't know what that is. You said you had some cool.
For dad advice. For dad advice. You know what? We're going to go with the air horn. Dad advice.
Dad advice. Don't let man-made opportunities get in the way of God-given direction.
Boom. There it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You got it.
That's mine anyway.
That was great. Everybody's clapping. You just can't hear it.
All right.
Okay, next question. In hindsight,
Yeah.
as you reflect on your time coaching, what wisdom did you gain that you couldn't have learned any other way but by those years of experience?
But by coaching, as a new coach, you come in with a lot of energy. I know that. A lot of ideas. I've probably learned to be I don't know. When I started, I think I told somebody today, we had 7 coaches on board, and I wanted to do everything great, awesome. I wanted to have somebody doing this and that. As time went on, just resources didn't allow that. I had to learn how to coach differently than what I thought I wanted to do. I wanted to have everything really structured. I learned to be more flexible, and at times it probably came across as unorganized, but we had to, in a small school, we had to do things on the fly because our kids were involved in so many activities. There was times where you didn't know who was even going to be at practice.
Yeah.
You had to make it up when you got to practice. Oh, you're sick. You're not here. Who do we got left? Okay. The stuff I thought we were going to do today, we can't do that today. So we have to be flexible. I came to practice with a notebook, Joe, of 80 different workouts. I had in mind a general way I wanted to do things. Probably 85% of the time didn't line up. After 14 years of doing it, I would just pull out my notebook, see who was there, and then tailor the program for the day. Maybe that's a good lesson. Man has a plan, but God directs your path, right?
Yeah.
So kind of like that. How about you?
The 2 words that are coming to mind are stamina and perspective.
Okay.
I think part of being in pretty much any role, similar to ours or in something else completely, one of the keys to going the distance, being in that role, and I would say, being successful or at least working hard in that role for a long time means that you run that race differently. You realize it's a marathon, not a sprint. You approach everything differently. I'm sure as a coach, you approach everything differently if you're trying to run very fast over a short distance versus if you're trying to run a very long distance.
I think that's what I was trying to get at. Like when I first came on, I was full of energy.
Yeah.
In the sprint, we were doing the 100.
Yeah, like you show up for a 100-yard dash, fully expecting to run a 100-yard dash, and then you realize it's an ultra.
I always thought this would be a great race, Joe. So you line up. You don't know what you're going to run, okay? Everybody lines up for a 100-meter dash. The race won't be defined until after the gun goes off, right? This is awesome. So you line up. Are you in a 100? Are you in a 200? Are you in a 400, an 800, or a mile? Whoever finishes first still wins the race, but you don't know the race until after the gun goes off. Then the announcer tells you what race you're running, but he only tells you after you've crossed the line for that particular race. So you don't know if you're running the 100 until you've crossed the 100.
You can't see the finish line.
Yeah. So that's kind of like maybe a little bit like what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't know where the finish line is. So you have to there's times where you might need to speed up because you're getting close to a perceived finish line. Put in a lot of effort, oh shoot, that wasn't the finish line.
Yeah,
I got to keep going.
Yeah, there's those times you might need to recalibrate and switch some things up because actually the finish line is way further down the road.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's great insight. As we're navigating this season of transition, what does a good day look to you right now in the in-between?
A good day right now.
At least for me, it can get harder to measure those things because you're not measuring by the standards that you've been measuring by in that role. Those are kind of gone.
A good day for me right now, Joe. Do you want me to give you every hour?
No, I think maybe just, I don't know if you have boxes you can check or things. For me, I kind of think of it as...
Why don't you answer this question first?
Sure. I don't necessarily know what my day is going to look like. And as I'm very close to the end, there's an in-between, a little bit of an in-between season. Mm-hmm. So I can't kind of use my normal schedule or my normal metrics to measure those things. So I kind of look for benchmarks or metrics outside of that. No matter what happened that day, whether it was expected or unexpected, I can still kind of hang my hat on those things and say it was a good day. For me, that's time with God. That's time spent investing into my family and friends and time spent doing something physical. No matter what else happens, no matter what else has gone on. If I've done those things, I feel pretty accomplished. I feel pretty good about how my day went.
Yep. That's about exactly how I was going to answer the question. Of course, I have other work that I do, and I've kind of learned to. I've always got a checkbox of stuff to check off, but inevitably I never get all those checked off. So I've kind of learned if I can check a couple of them off, I feel good. But 2 or 3 that came to mind, just like you mentioned, was if I can spend some conversation with my wife. I would love a good workout if I could do that. I don't always get that, but a little quiet time with God, whether that's right away in the morning, mid-morning, I try to squeeze that in. I do always feel really good when I can spend 15, 20, even 30 minutes just kind of reading God's word and reflecting just a little bit on what he's saying. I love a good podcast. I don't know how this is treating you, but I try to get those in like if I'm working out, or maybe I'll go on a walk 3 or 4 miles and I crank that podcast on. So those are some things that generally make me feel good. Maybe the dish is done, but I'm not high priority on that. But
that is highly underrated. That is highly underrated.
I noticed that this morning, like when I'm stressed, Joe, I go into cleaning mode.
Me too.
And it just makes me feel better. Like I can talk through my problems if I'm sweeping the floor, doing some dishes, organizing, throwing out junk, whatever.
Yep. I cleaned the garage yesterday.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of strange how being a little bit more organized just helps. It cleans your thoughts out. It helps straighten your brain up a little bit. That's my thought on it.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
All right. We've got 2 questions left.
Man, you're hammering through them here.
We're doing good. What do you hope people who listen to this, who are also in transition, maybe they're in transition right now, or maybe they will be in transition soon, what do you hope that listeners who are also in transition feel after hearing this? What do you hope they take away from our conversation about transition?
Well, any transition you're going through can be really easy to just hide and not chat about what you're going through, to just kind of hide your emotions, to kind of feel like you're alone. Know that you're not. I've learned a lot here in the last month or so, just not only about praying to God for wisdom, but using people as sounding boards. So good people in your life, have a good set of people that you can chat, whether it's 2 people or 10. So I've asked a lot of questions and I've thrown out hypotheticals to people. That, I would say, is one standout thing here in the last month that I've done where I felt good about what I'm doing, because I had a lot of internal questions. God, am I hearing you correctly? Is this what I'm supposed to do? And I'll be honest with you, I would say 95% of the people I talked to encouraged me all in the same direction, which was pretty amazing. Not just random people. These are important people in my life, siblings, good friends, getting that confidence from other people.
Yeah.
So have a good base of friends and stay in touch with God. Don't rush your decisions.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to rush decisions, and we all think that we need to make them right now. There's just so many things I've heard or listened to in the last few weeks. It's like, if you're not ready to make the decision, then don't make the decision. I mean, there is a time where if we don't make it, it's going to make it on itself. But we tend to rush decisions a lot that don't need to be rushed, I think. So being patient.
It is very easy. You said this, and it just kind of resonated with me immediately. It's very easy to feel alone in transition, because I think to a degree you are alone. No one else is going through what you're going through. No one else is feeling the feelings that you're feeling, and no one else has to live with the consequences. No one else has to deal with the repercussions, both good and bad. I think that just because you're experiencing it alone in that sense doesn't mean that you have to feel alone, doesn't mean you have to be alone. Like you said, I think having trusted people, good people to speak into your life and to share how you're feeling with makes so much difference. I know it's made a ton of difference for me.
It's hard to expose ourselves a little bit too.
It's vulnerable.
Like you get vulnerable, you feel naked. Like I know I've had that with emotions. Like you just start chatting about where you're at, and I feel like people get tired of listening to me. Like, Jared, we've talked about this. Like, I know we have, but I need to talk about it some more.
I'm still processing.
Yeah. So it's hard to expose yourself and just call someone again and say, hey, can we talk about this a little bit more? I already know what you think, but I just need to verbalize this a little bit more. Yep.
All right. Final question, my friend.
Okay.
If you could speak to your past self at the beginning of that role, like if you could speak to first year coach Jared, what would you tell them?
Oh, gosh. You're going to have to put in a lot of work, boy. Are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, I definitely would tell him that. Are you prepared for this? Probably would say, hey, let's step up. And, I put in a lot of extra time education-wise. If looking back, I would have done that sooner. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've spent countless hours in the last 2 years just continuing education. I wish I would have done that sooner. So would have told my younger self, hey, jump on the board here. Let's learn some more sooner, get some more accreditations, not just to have them in your pocket, but to actually learn some good things.
Yeah.
Maybe be a little more humble, rubbed up against some other coaches that my first 2 years, looking back, I probably didn't do it right or say the right thing. I had a good heart, but looking back, like, you need to be nicer to that guy or whatever. So those are quick things.
Yeah. I would tell myself to learn humility,
Exactly.
Be more open to it, learn it faster, pay more attention to it, just consider it more important, learn humility, give yourself grace. And I still struggle with this. I'm that kind of Labrador personality where no one's going to beat me up for a mistake more than me. If I would make a mistake, if I would have a negative experience or negative feedback, it would about take me out, emotionally. It would take me a while to bounce back. And I had to learn to build resilience about that. It's hard when you pour your heart and soul into something. It's hard when you care about something to not take it personally.
Yeah.
And I think there's a degree of that it's good to develop a little perspective, and it's good to be able to take a step back from and not take everything so personally. So, just give yourself grace. You're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
A mistake's not the end of the world. That's it. That's a wrap.
Hey, this has been awesome.
This really has. I know that we were just testing out podcast equipment, but I think it was a God thing that we just so happened to make the time to do this.
I feel better.
At a time when we're both processing these big transitions and these big pieces of our lives.
Well, this is Cowboy Koffee, Joe. This is exactly what I had in mind. Just good conversation about various subjects, and this is what was hot on our minds today.
Yeah, I was going to say I've had a great time just discussing this with you, talking about my experience, hearing about yours.
It's amazing how similar they are.
Yeah. My hope is that people who listen and maybe people who are navigating their own transitions will be blessed by it.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this, Joe.
All right. Well, we don't really have an outro.
You're going to make one. Am I doing the right movements? I can't hear it.
Absolutely, you are. It was crickets.
Oh, it was crickets.
All right. I think that's it. I think that's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us on Cowboy Koffee. We're going to see you next time.